Hi students, Mrs. Brown here. I just wanted to go over Magnum Opus Magazine's writer's guidelines. I know that I mentioned that IEW is looking for, or they're always looking for student writers. So what you would do is go to magnumopusmagazine.com and go to the writer's guidelines tab. Once you click on the writer's guidelines tab, um, yeah, then it'll advance here. And keep in mind that when you submit to your work to Magnum Opus Magazine, they have very specific guidelines. So I'm just going through a few. This does not replace you reading this entire page for yourself, but I did want to introduce you quickly to a few things to pay close attention to. So here's what they're looking for. Again, any unit from Unit 1 to Unit 9. Um, and again, what pieces should feature dress up sentence openers that you have learned in your level of the IW course. So make sure that you include those. Please don't include stylistic indicators, bolds, italics, underline. So when you turn in your paper, obviously you're doing all of that because the checklist tells you to indicate your dress ups and your openers. However, you will not need those for the actual submission. So make sure you remove them. Work with your parent or guardian and your editor to help you to remove all of those from your paper. It does need to be typed, so make sure that if you've handwritten your paper that you type it. Here's something, they put this in large letters. Please do include decorations and triple extensions. So if you're not familiar with triple extensions, just send me an email or a message in the classroom and I'll explain that. Decorations, alliteration, things of that nature would be what they are referring to as decorations, alliterations, similes, metaphors, those type of things. Those don't necessarily show up on our checklist early on in first semester, but they are still some of the literary devices that they love to see in your paper. It says this will make your writing especially strong and more engaging. So when a magazine asks you to for sure do something, make sure you do that. Here are some of the special categories as well. Now, here are the guidelines I want you to pay close attention to. At the top of each submission, please include the following: your name, current age, which category your submission will be classified under. And then you must submit your paper as a Word document or a Google document with a different file for each submission. That means if you're planning to submit more than one of your papers, make sure you have a different file for each submission. They have to be, this is different than your checklist, single spaced, okay? They also have to be in Times New Roman font, and the font size needs to be 12. Pay close attention to that because, again, this is what IEW Magnum Opus Magazine is requiring of you for your submission. If you want your submission to be looked at, make sure you do that. It already says that you should not include any stylistic indicators. We already covered that. This is in bold, so this is very important. All submissions should be spell checked and edited. I would suggest that even though you have turned in your paper, do another hard edit of your paper to make sure that nothing is spelled wrong and that you don't have any grammatical errors. You can use free resources like grammarly.com. That's another really good resource to check your editing. And then this is something, again, that is very important to focus on. Use only one space after each sentence. So after every end mark, one space only. So if you are hitting the space bar twice between each sentence, make sure one space only. Here are some other guidelines. It should be your original work, no plagiarism. I don't think any of my students will have any of that issue. And then, of course, they have to be family friendly. So no gruesome battle scenes, no inappropriate language or mature themes. All ages read Magnum Opus Magazine, so you make sure you follow that as well. And here are the ways you submit your work. So you can click on this Google form, and a publication consent form is not needed when submitting this way. So please be sure to read and agree to the terms in the form. So that's probably one of the easiest ways to do that. Or you can send your submission to mo@iew.com with this publication consent form. So if you decide to email, then you will need to submit your publication consent form. They will not consider your work for publication if you do not include a consent form with your email submission. And they do not submit or accept any submissions by mail. No paper mailing, please. Please include your name and title of your submission in the email subject line. This is really important. Make sure you follow every single one of these guidelines. All right, there are journalism guidelines as well. I won't go through that too much, but make sure you read through that 350 to 1500 words. APS, so please, pieces should follow the Associated Press style. We haven't done any interviews yet in our work, but if you do, please make sure they know you'll be submitting it to Magnum Opus Magazine and that it could possibly be published. So in the future, if one of our assignments does include an interview that you have in your work, please make sure you get consent from that individual. Um, Keep in mind that any work that does not follow these guidelines will not be considered. So I don't want you to go through this process and then not follow all of the guidelines and then not be considered. And then again, to submit student work, please email Word document and consent form. Include author's name and submission title in the subject line. Okay, that's if I were to send it, but I want to have you all do that. This is just good practice, I tell you, because Magnum Opus Magazine is just one of many. I'm going to stick here so that depending on which unit you are going to submit, it could be any of your unit papers. These are the word guidelines. So make sure that you do a word check. How many words do you have in your paper? Make sure your number of words fits within the guidelines. So this is a great experience because Magnum Opus Magazine is just one of many magazines that look for youth writers. The nice thing is that you don't have to do really anything extra because you're already writing IEW papers. So that's really nice because, of course, if you go to other magazines, they're going to have certain things that they're looking for you to write, and you have to write a whole new paper. However, this way you can become possibly a published writer with just the work that you're submitting in class. So again, if you have any questions, let me know. I just wanted to give you this quick tutorial of the Magnum Opus Magazine Writer's Guidelines. That's what this is. I'll move myself there. The Writer's Guidelines, so you know what to expect, what is required. Again, if you have any questions, let me know. But I want every single one of my students to submit because you all are doing a fabulous job. All right. I'll talk to you soon. Let me know if you have any questions. Take care.